Welcome everyone. Thank you for being here. If I don't have my normally loud voice, as you may know, I'm getting over being sick, so I will do my best, keep us on track. So, calling the meeting to order at 6:30. This would be the time for public comments on non-agenda items, but before we begin, we do have a special guest, and I'm going to give him a few minutes to speak. This is Insurance Commissioner Dave Jones, who's running for Attorney General.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. It's great to be back here with the Monterey County Democrats. Thank you for hosting a little meeting for me last year in this very space, and it's delightful to be with you again. Thanks for all your leadership. Just a brief bit about what I've been doing as your insurance commissioner. Most recently, of course, getting insurance companies to pay claims from the 16,000 or so homeowners who lost their homes in the dreadful fires up above the Bay Area as well as down south. And one of the first things I did was I asked the insurers to start writing checks right away to help people, and they complied. And then we discovered that some insurers were giving people wrong information about their rights, so we got that corrected. And most recently, the challenge has been that the insurers are requiring people to fill out these exhaustive inventories of every article of clothing and piece of jewelry and piece of furniture. And imagine your own home, stuff you've collected 10, 20, 30, 40 years, you don't even know you have. It's completely reduced to ash, and now you have to go through the emotional toil of recreating all that. And so I've asked them to waive that requirement, and although I can't order them because the legislature hasn't given me the authority to order them to waive it. I'm not a shy guy, so I demanded that they waive it, and we got most of them to waive it. And so people are getting the money they need to rebuild their lives. I am running for Attorney General, and I'm bringing to that office the same passion for social and economic justice that has been my lodestar throughout my public service career. Many of you know I started my public service career as a legal aid lawyer in rural Northern California, representing farm workers and low-income Californians with their legal challenges. Now as insurance commissioner, I lead a consumer protection and law enforcement agency. We've been successful in going after insurers. I can't tell you the number of times I've sued or been sued by insurance companies. And we've won all those cases, and rightly so, because the job is protecting consumers in California and standing up for consumers. One of the big things I want to focus on is, of course, resisting Trump. And what I'll bring to that resistance is 30 years of practical experience as a lawyer, which is different from my opponent. With no disrespect to my opponent, who served for 24 years in Congress, he wasn't practicing law during that period of time. He had an inactive bar license. I'm a practicing lawyer. I'm a litigator. I worked for 3 years for Jana Reno as her special assistant in Washington, D.C. I was the short guy next to the really tall lady that many of you are too young to remember got lampooned on Saturday Night Live, right? The Jana Reno dance party. Well, I'm not strictly adjacent to her, so I saw firsthand how to run a Department of Justice. And I took to heart her holistic view of justice. It's not just investigations and prosecutions. It's early childhood education, affordable housing, community building, restorative justice, and importantly, criminal justice reform. And I am passionate about criminal justice reform. I believe black and brown lives matter. I believe we have to hold police organizations accountable for misconduct. And I believe that we've got to focus incredibly on making sure we have rehab and reentry programs for people that are in the criminal justice system and people coming out. I've been profoundly influenced by Michelle Alexander's book, The New Jim Crow. If you haven't read it yet, I encourage you to do so. She describes in excruciating detail how the war on drugs was visited upon largely people of color. They were swept into prisons for inordinately long periods of time, branded with a felony stamp, and then when they return to the community, they can't possibly succeed because they can't get a job, can't find housing, and so they reoffend, and the cycle continues. We're breaking that cycle. I'm one of the few, if only, law enforcement officials in this state who supported prison realignment, amending 3 strikes, Prop 47, Prop 57, all of the measures to try to undo the war on drugs. Undo it. But now we have a challenge, which is now that we're moving people out of the correction system, we've got to support them. And that means mental health treatment, substance use treatment, job training, jobs, affordable housing. And if we don't get this right, not only will it not be right for them, but they're going to re-offend, re-victimize, and communities like this, communities across California, are going to start demanding we build more prisons instead of schools. So I want to make this a signature priority in my attorney generalship, which is focus on reentry and rehabilitation. I can't just wave a magic wand and make those programs happen. But you know what programs work in the community. And together we can identify programs that work, figure out how to take them to scale, and go together to the philanthropic, private sector, public sector, and argue for money. Prop 47 had a provision in it that said that savings to the state prison system by reclassifying non-serious, non-violent felonies as misdemeanors, these drug possessory crimes, those savings were supposed to come to communities like this to run programs. Well, our governor, who we love dearly, very frugal man, guess how he stored those savings? He said there were hardly any savings. Had I been Attorney General, I would have been in there arguing big savings, more money ought to come to Monterey and other communities to help communities like this run these programs. Now, there are distinctions in this race. And there are distinctions amongst us as Democrats. I'm running as a strong progressive. I oppose the death penalty. My opponent supports the death penalty. That's a big distinction. I'm the only one of the two of us that has formally endorsed SB 562, the single-payer legislation. I believe very firmly we need single-payer, and we need it now. And that's not a Johnny-come-lately thing for me. I co-authored Mark Leno's bills. I co-authored Sheila Kuehl's bills when I was assembly. I'm a big believer in single-payer. You also have to take a look at difference in experience. I've touched upon that a little bit. Frankly, any Democrat can sign a lawsuit, but the question is, do you have an experienced litigator who can really go after Trump? I've been saying for months now, we should sue Trump, the state of California, for violating the Emoluments Clause. He's got that big hotel in downtown Washington, D.C., where all those foreign princes and kings are staying. That's a violation of the Emoluments Clause. My opponent, Mr. Becerra, refuses to file that lawsuit. I would file that lawsuit in a second. Exxon, right? Exxon's been lying about climate change for decades, even though their own scientists said it was real and it's going to have an impact on oil prices. I'd be investigating Exxon, just like the New York Attorney General is, just like the Massachusetts Attorney General is. Our current Attorney General refuses to open that investigation. Who's supporting whom? So, I refuse to take any money from the insurance industry because of their opposition to health care reform, their opposition to single payer. My opponent's taking money from the insurance industry. I won't take money from big tobacco. My opponent's taking money from big tobacco. I believe in public schools. I'm not going to take a dime from the charter school movement. My opponent is taking charter school PAC money and max out contributions from Edith and Eli Broad, the big charter school advocates. I believe very strongly that the oil industry has a responsibility for climate change that they're not addressing. I'm not going to take a dime from the oil industry. My opponent is taking funds from the oil industry. I'm not going to take a cent from the private prison industry. The list goes on and on and on. So there are big distinctions between myself and my opponent in terms of who's supporting us. And I would ask for your support. In front of you, there's a little card like this. And I would ask you, please, this is a grassroots movement. I don't have a lot of money, a big staff, I'm here alone, I've got my little black bag with my little signs and my little, but I would love to have your personal endorsement. Whether you're a delegate, not a delegate, whoever you are, I would love to have your support by filling one of these out, and let me take it from you before I leave. This is what we're doing. We're building a grassroots movement, and we will be at the convention in San Diego at the end of February, 23rd, 25th, and I'm going to be seeking the party endorsement. I'm pleased to have the endorsement over 70% of the county chairs, regional directors, caucus chairs. We're getting great support, and I would love you to join our progressive movement to elect a strong progressive to the office of Attorney General. Thank you for your time. Thanks.
Thank you so much, Dave. Again, this is the time for public comment. Sir Vince?
If I may, Vince Kohler, I'm the alternate for Jimmy Panetta, and he has a message for all of you from Washington, D.C. He's an unhappy man right now. He's not really happy with the continuing resolutions and governing using continuing resolutions. And he just wanted to tell you a little bit what's been going on. They've been really working 24/7 over the weekend. And one of the things that the continuing resolutions do is they do not allow for long-term planning or funding of real priorities. So relief, emergency relief funding is not secure. Community health clinics are not secure, even though CHIP was safe and is now funded for 6 years. That means you have insurance, but whether you get the services is not so clear if those clinics are not funded. So there's a lot left undone. He's part of the problem-solving caucus. They're working on trying to actually continue to build toward a long-term solution. And obviously one of his priorities is DACA. We have 122 DACA candidates losing their status on the per day. Monterey County has 20,000 DACA recipients or DACA candidates, and one of the things he's been doing is talking to people in districts that don't have so many DACA candidates to talk to them about why it is so important to support them. Because there the support or even the understanding in the community is not the same as what he has. He's very appreciative of the support he's getting and also the messages that come from this district. He hears from people in the district. And so that's kind of in a nutshell what it's focused on. So community health clinics, real big priority. Emergency relief, obviously a huge issue here in the state and elsewhere. Puerto Rico is not being taken care of the way it should be. And we got to, he feels very strongly that we got to get over these governing by continuing resolutions. So that's kind of the update from
Thank you. All right, again, this is the time for non-agenda items. If there's something you want to share with the Central Committee, Gary?
Can I just do one more add-on? I almost forgot to mention the public comment period on drilling off the coast is closing March 9th. And what I'm going to do is make sure, as a follow-up to an email to the committee, to send you the link where you can comment. They absolutely need comments from people, organizations, individuals about why we do not want drilling off the coast.
Thank you. Gary? And
the Senator Mine, who I represent on this committee, is termed out in 2020 and is starting a issues committee to basically work on public policy that relates to public health. And on April 6th at the Hyatt, he's going to have an event to sort of roll out this platform and build some constituencies and issues, both statewide and local, to promote health throughout the state. So that'll be a date to keep in mind, and there'll be an invitation going out to everybody. That's Friday, April 6th at the Hyatt. So the other thing I would just wanted to announce, it's not on the agenda, and I think people know this, but this particular office was used in 2017 by the Women's March, the Pride March, the labor unions, by Indivisible.
March for Science.
March for Science. I mean, we march for everything. And it was out of this office, and we should take credit. We were here. It's a good thing we were here. We were here for all of these organizations, including the Women's March, which that's their banner from Saturday. So we made a lot of friends. We met a lot of new people. Now it's time to turn those folks into volunteers to flip everything.
And on that note of flipping things, I'm the campaign operations manager for Virginia Beach and the supervisor. We recently had a press release, and I'm proud to announce we've raised over $100,000 from 100 individuals. We're not taking any money from corporate PACs or any special interest groups, and we're not going to. So I just wanted to announce that.
congratulations. Yeah, in fact.
Hello everybody, my name is John Wizard. I'm running for City Council here in Seaside. We're having an event on Friday, February 9th at the Press Club, which is just down the street here across from the Breakfast Club. A lot of clubs in Seaside. So feel free to come by from 6 to 8 p.m. We're going to have some snacks and hors d'oeuvres from Angelina's Bakery down the street. And Kayla Jones from Seaside, Jake Parker, Alan will be there, a couple school board and water board people, so it's a chance to ask me all the questions you have about my candidacy and say hello. Yes, Natalie.
You have a flyer?
I don't have a flyer printed yet because I'm waiting on one of our local union places to produce it. But I can make sure that I email it to some people and hopefully we can kind of sort of daisy chain that.
I have a lot of teachers who live in Seaside that might be interested.
Excellent. And in case you wanted to look sooner than I could get that to you, if you go to bit.ly, elect wizard CKO for campaign kickoff. bit.ly, elect wizard CKO. And there's a Facebook event, and it's also on my webpage, electwizard.com.
I wish I had a name like you.
Friday, February 9th. Friday, February 9th.
So what is electwizard.com?
Electwizard.com.
That's a great.
All right. Anybody else? Yeah, Adam.
Hey folks, Adam Ruti, I'm one of the delegates from District 4, and I'm just stealing my thunder because I'm going to announce that I'm also running for Marina City Council. So pleased to announce that the endorsement of Jane Parker, Bruce Delgado, hoping to get the endorsement of the Democrats and Monterey Basin Labor Council and all y'all. But I'm not quite as far along as John is in terms of a kickoff, but I will be having one in some form in February, and when that comes, I'll let you guys all know. I'd love for you to be there. Thanks so much.
All right, anybody else? Yeah, Hutch.
Alrighty, tomorrow I leave, heading down south to the 36th Senate District to flip it. Castellano. So I'll be in touch, and you know, we're gonna get the love, but we're gonna do it. Duralisa's district. And she's the Senate Minority Leader.
We'll miss you, Hutch.
All right. Anybody else? Anything?
I'll just jump in here and add on to the train.
I'd like to announce.
So, I'm running for City Council in Monterey, for those of you. I actually have a little bit more of a tentative date in mind. Pretty sure I'm going to be going with this, but February 17th, I'll be trying to begin my announcement. So, more details to come on that. I have all of your contact information, so don't think you're not going to hear anything.
What's your name?
Exactly. Who said that? Wait, what was it?
All right, anybody else, non-agenda announcement?
Anybody
I have an announcement. So, this past weekend, 4 of us from Monterey carpooled to Tracy to help out Dottie Nygaard, who is a nurse running for Congress there against Jeff Denham in CD10. There were 4 of us, Dominic, Natalie, myself, and Josh Ezekiel from the CPA. And I think we must have hit maybe 8 different turf. But anyway, there'll be more opportunities if you're interested in heading inland a little bit and helping out in that district. If you in particular are interested in Dottie, who's endorsed by the Justice Democrats and Our Revolution and the California Nurses, and is a big supporter of Medicare for All, please let me know. Okay, any other announcements? Yeah.
Can I ask you, I've never been able to make it to one of the...
Swing left, or?
No, to go to Tracy or whatever.
Well, I'll meet you there.
Like, what can we do to help get rid of Denham if we can't go in there?
We can set up a phone bank.
What do we do
We'll be
here?
setting up phone banks as well here. So.
That seems to be a real important...
Right.
I just want to say something about this.
Go ahead.
For those of you who are finishing signing up the contact cards for Dave Jones' campaign, you could pass those over to the end of the table there. We are lucky enough to have him for a while, but he will be leaving before our meeting's over, so if you can pass those forward, that'd be great.
Okay, so seeing no more hands for non-agenda announcements, I'm going to move on to swearing in of new representatives. I know of 3 people. If you, before you're supposed to be sworn in, and I don't mention you, please speak up. But Natalia, and if you could come on up here, Natalia Molina, who is Ted, which White next for David Kahn, and Elizabeth Gabriel for the Democratic Women's Club. And is there anybody else who we're missing? Okay, I don't see anybody. Good. So, follow along with me. Yeah, raise your right hand. All right. I state your name. Do solemnly swear
Do solemnly swear
that I will support and defend
that I will support and defend
the Constitution of the United States
the Constitution of the United States,
and the Constitution of the State of California
and the Constitution of the State of California,
against all enemies, foreign and domestic,
against all enemies, foreign and domestic,
that I will bear true faith and allegiance to those constitutions,
that I will bear true faith and allegiance to those constitutions,
that I will uphold and honor
that I will uphold and honor
the bylaws of the Monterey County Democratic Central Committee,
the bylaws of the Monterey County Democratic Central Committee,
that I take this obligation freely
that I take this obligation freely
without any mental reservation or purpose of evasion,
without any mental reservation or purpose of evasion,
and that I will well and faithfully discharge the duties
that I will well and faithfully discharge the duties
upon which I'm about to enter,
upon which I am about to enter,
and during such time as I hold this position.
and during such time as I hold this position.
All right, congratulations.
Oh, great. Nice to meet you. Alicia Gaines said, right?
I need your attention again. All right, hello folks. I think we could be out of here by 8. We got to focus. So you see the agenda in front of you. Is there any other requests for the agenda? All right, seeing none. Under the consent agenda, we have the minutes from November, which are in your packet. We also have a financial packet. Just note that we are going to be having a separate discussion of the budget for this coming year. So I would entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda unless there's, okay, Tyler? And second, any other discussion?
Alicia seconded.
A second by Alicia. Any other discussion?
These are great reports.
Oh, thank you. Thank you, Gary. Okay, great reports. All right, seeing no other discussion, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any against? None? Any abstention? None. Okay, thank you. So going to our discussion, really the main thing that we need to discuss tonight is a first look at our budget for this coming year. I have to tell you that the E-Board was supposed to meet last week. 2 of the members, including myself, were really sick. 3 of us were sick, so we ended up not meeting.
And one in Cuba.
Yeah.
She had the best excuse.
So that's a way of saying that we have not had a vigorous conversation among the E-Board about our budget. So I don't expect us to settle our budget tonight. I'd really like to just get the conversation going, and then hopefully we can do that next month. So I'd really like to just sort of open up the conversation now. And this is an opportunity for you to share what you think our priorities should be going into the new year. You know that one of the things I personally think we need to commit to is funding a center in Salinas during the election months. I don't know how much that should be. There's some conversation about maybe we can find a labor partner who would have some space.
And Mary Lou's doing it.
Okay, good. So we'll have an update from Mary Lou later in the meeting or during this?
Later in the meeting.
Okay. Maybe we want to have it right now. And I think there's also one of the other things, since this is a year in which we have a primary, we have to think about do we budget money to run a mailer for the primary? We may well be endorsing some candidates that are running in that primary. And then, of course, we have our fall mailer. Vince, do you want to say anything to kind of get us going based on some of your past experience with some of these campaign costs?
Yeah, I think for some of you, this is probably repeat why mailers have been kind of a staple of the committee and of the role that we see is obviously turning people out to vote. So there are two reasons why mailers, and this is political science suggests that the two things that have the most impact on winning elections is direct voter contact. So Dave going to meet a voter, or Alan going to meet a voter is the number one persuasive thing that you can do. We can't meet every single one of them, obviously, as candidates. And the second most important thing is to actually reach them by mail. There are certain things that mail pieces that you as a candidate yourself can do, just introduce people to you. There's a certain particular benefit to having a third party vouch for you, which you cannot do for yourself. And different vouching has different effects. If the firefighters say you're a good guy, that can help you, or a good woman, that can help you. If the Democratic Party tells Democrats that you're worth supporting, that has sort of a special currency. And we've built the brand over now more than a decade. This was something that actually the Peninsula Democrats used to do, the mailer for us. And that brand value, we see it. If you've ever worked a poll, you see actually people walk in with those cards and basically voting the ticket. And we get more calls from people saying, hey, I didn't get the mailer, I need the mailer because I want to vote the ticket. And of course, so that has a particular impact in elections where there's lots of races. This fall is going to be a whole new category of campaign event, because we will have more people on the ballot than we've ever had. So that's sort of the big picture about why mailers matter and why the brand that we've built over more than a decade is really, really quite valuable. From a candidate perspective, the way we funded them in the past is the committee has put money into it, clubs have contributed, and candidates themselves have bought into it. And it turns out there's commercial mailers out there that get sent to you. That's another reason why ours is particularly important, because they're mailers that are essentially commercial enterprises. And voters have a hard time distinguishing, is that for real? I see, the governor at the top, and then I see some other person who's not even a Democrat, and it looks as if this came from the party. And it says something like, concerned Democrats, And there's nothing we can do as a free country to do that. But our mailer, because it really does, it is identifiably the real deal, also has this effect that it neutralizes other sort of, junk mailers. So anyway, that's the big picture. So last year we did, for the first time actually, do a primary and a general election mailer. And I think that's a strategic question that the committee has to consider. It is valuable when you want to really have an impact on an election. Sometimes you don't need to do the primary mailer, or you can't, but sometimes you can, and then it can be valuable. And I think last year we spent about $36,000 total on the mailer. I'm sorry?
2016.
Oh, sorry, yes. I think of that.
It was not both the primary and the general?
Right, I think it's about
Maybe 22 and 14.
16.
something like that, yeah. And so, anyway, that's sort of the big picture. And again, people buy into that with a relatively modest contribution on a campaign-by-campaign basis, because, a mailer costs about 40 to 50 cents a voter that you reach on a per voter basis. And so typically a campaign pays between $300 and $800 to be on the mailer, and the balance gets covered. So you get basically a $10,000 return, but you put about $500 into it. So that's kind of the mechanics.
Carrie.
Well, just to add to that is the value of the door hanger, and it's delivered by volunteers. Which I'm going to guess, I would make, this is a risky thing to do, maybe not, but in 2017, we had a shitload of people in here, and protesting, rallies, marches. Okay, that's pretty much over, in my opinion, hopefully. What we have to do now is turn to elections, flipping districts, not just congressional districts, but sheriff, supervisor, et cetera, city council, school board. So in conjunction with a mailer, a door hanger. And just to borrow one statement from Delaney Easton, who said, we're talking about budgets. Budgets represent your values. And I think we need to be available to the thousands of people in our county who came out and protested the Trump agenda for one reason or another. Just in the last week, there was MLK March, Planned Parenthood lunch, and the Women's March. That was thousands of people. What are they going to do in 2018? Hopefully they'll be here making sure that their time is well spent and we flip as many districts as we can.
Don't we get the door hanger from the park, the state park?
We do get the door hanger from, at least that's how it has been in the past, and then we print the local sticker and put them on and deliver them. Adam?
In talking with Hustle, I don't know if folks are familiar with Hustle, it's a peer-to-peer texting app. But they informed me that this year they have a arrangement with the State Democratic Party to make Hustle available to the clubs at a very reasonable price. And so I don't know where Hustle would fit in to this budget, but we should reach out to the party and find out what it's gonna cost us, because peer-to-peer texting is just totally revolutionizing fundraising for candidates and for parties and for labor unions. And it's also, it enables us to reach out to younger voters who like live on their cell phone. It's just crazy, the like return on investment in terms of like cost per ID, it's nothing.
Got
And
it.
so you're saying this is an application we can get through the state party by paying a fee or something?
Yeah, so the
Peer-
state party will make
peer
it
text.
available to us very inexpensive.
Great.
Okay.
But we should
Wonderful.
research that and put it in the budget, because if we're not doing it, we're years behind.
Can you explain just really briefly what that means?
Well,
Are you buying?
Let's keep it to a conversation about the budget and have you guys talk about peer-to-peer texting. It's really great. It's targeted texting.
Okay, other comments on the agenda? On the budget, excuse me. Yeah,
I was just, are we gonna go forward with the reserve that I recommended? The reserve?
Okay, put that reserve question mark.
Could you say a little bit more about that?
The reserve, I put a certain amount of money into the reserve, so if whatever happens, we still have a certain amount of money there.
Okay.
So that didn't get represented here. You do see that we should be at zero, right? We should have a balanced budget because we don't exist to make a profit. And, but it's not articulated the notion of a reserve, so thank you for that. We'll talk about that, great.
Any other feedback or comments? I can't see who that is back there. Yeah, go ahead, is that on?
Comment.
Hey, I was noticing our income for the mail on door hangers and mailers went down about $15,000 from what we're spent in 16 to now. And looking down in expenses, our expenses on election activity expense also went down $15,000. I'm just wondering, is there a particular reason to project the lower income?
The idea of that is a different philosophy on how much of our budget should be spent on materials versus people power. So those numbers, you know, what we figure we can get done for what amount of money.
Well, what I
That was the discussion. It's not unchangeable, but that's where those numbers came from.
So maybe we can just clarify. So in 2016, under income, and I don't know, this would be like under income, maybe the second thing down, or first thing actually, mailers, door hangers. In 2016, that was about $20,000, which looks like, it says here over under budget about $10,000. This year we're budgeting, at this point, it's just a preliminary budget, $5,500. So would that be money that had been generated from candidates contributing to the mailer? Is that why that would be under income?
That's what, and based on feedback, there were different fees last time for which candidates, and we're talking about bringing in the money another way.
And actually, I'd like to, maybe we can talk about that a little bit and just see. So, as far as past practice, as a candidate myself, I was asked to make a donation, and I think Gary told me this is the best deal you can make, and he was absolutely right for all of the reasons Vince just said. The question is, and I think we really want to talk about, is what kind of a, do we want to continue to do that, or do we just want to say, no, we're going to fundraise all of it? Or do we want to continue to ask our endorsed candidates to make some kind of a contribution? And if so, what kind of a sliding scale makes the most sense? And Vince, can you just remind me, you said it was like from about 300 to 800, so it's like 300 for school board candidates, maybe 400 or so for...
500 to supervisor, 750, a assembly member, senator,
So it's based on
1,000.
position.
I mean, Sam always put in at least 1,000, sometimes more.
So what happened with this is having the money come in, still asking for candidates to give us money, but having those amounts articulated in advance, because last year, well, actually in 2016, I came in midterm in July to fill a vacant spot, so I was making calls to people asking for that money, and I would say 7 people said they had no idea that was expected of them. The term strong arm was uttered, and because we gave the endorsement that I was calling and saying, can we have money for the mailer? And they didn't know. Probably 7 or 8 people did not know that that was an expectation. So we could do better at explaining that to people in advance, but it's not pay to play. We're really clear about that. So anyway, just having the money coming in, we're creating more opportunities for people to give us their money, to sponsor, to have ads in the dinner program, things like that. So we certainly want to capture that money, and we certainly want to ask people for money, but this assumes a different number. The last thing I want to say about that is I also heard from 3 different candidates who had concerns, even though great care had been taken to have some to have thoughtfulness to the amount. They thought it was not proportional to the number of voters that our mailer would reach that would have effect on them, as opposed to countywide folks. So, it's all stuff we need to talk about.
Listen, you touched on my concerns, thank you.
Listen, that money is going because that's the amount of money we had during that period of time. So we had the candidates who were running in certain districts, we're taking them, I guess they were running them or something like that. That's what happened.
Yes.
Because we didn't have a big budget.
Okay.
Well, the other thing is that when that time comes, there's an effort specifically to pitch supporting the mayor, not just to the candidates, but to our other supporters. Like, I know Vince has like numbers, like it'll, for another $1,000, we can send X number more of mailers. We could reach, this many more people, out in Greenfield or somewhere where you might not otherwise be able to, walk the streets. You really need the mailer. So I am a little concerned that we're going low on that number. I mean,
So we'd like to see that more.
obviously, what we also said is if you don't have the money, you don't do the mailers or you don't do as many. So it doesn't require that we make that much money, but if it's possible, I would like to see that raise, and I'm not sure exactly who made the decision to lower it.
No, this is just for discussion.
I understand this is a draft budget.
And the other thing is, this is actually going to probably be the most candidates this year we've ever endorsed. So if people do help contribute, there will be potentially considerably more. Now bear in mind, the more we have there, the more mailers, we can send out multiple mailers, and we can target people more intensely as opposed to having to kind of cull people and only send them to likely voters. Yeah.
Is that for me?
Levon, yeah.
Oh, yeah, okay. I'm particularly concerned about how do we include people in our community that don't have those funds to give to the Central Committee so that they can feel like what we're doing here includes them.
Are you talking about candidates that are running?
I'm talking about people. I'm talking about the people who live in our community, that we put candidates in office to serve. Because they're not there just to serve the people who give the money. Because if that's the kind of picture that we're putting out there in our community, that we just serve the people with the money, and then when it comes time for a problem, as a commissioner, okay, we were talking about rent control, gentrification, running people out of the community because they don't have enough money to pay, and then one person said, but that's a political thing, we can't be involved. So it sounds like they're saying that the politics is separate from the people and their needs. So how do we bridge that gap?
Good question. Regina.
I just wanted to address the optional aspect of contributing. I mean, anybody running for office, and you've run for office, I currently am running for office, I will say that I think it is obscene the amount of money that you have to raise to be considered a viable candidate. No, it's obscene, so rather than spending your time talking to people, getting to know people, brushing up on the myriad of complex issues, talking to experts, whether it be on water or housing, you still simultaneously have to be asking people for money. However, that is the ugly reality in which we're currently living, and perhaps someday soon that will be changed. I also feel strongly about people, a sense of fairness, and so I'm running for supervisor, the filing fee is about $1,700, and, we could collect 3,000 votes, 3,000 signatures in District 2, which, we'll probably get that at the end of this year. However, I think it's really important that if you're running for office, you should contribute, and there is a cost to running, and it should be fair, and it sounds like it's optional, so I can say, hey guys, you do all the work, I don't want to spend that $400. I really think that if you're running for office, it should seriously be factored into the expense of running for office. I also believe that it should be based on the particular office that you're running for. Those are my 2 cents. Okay, thank you.
Good feedback.
Yeah,
Bill?
for the mailer, or the hangers, we need a fee schedule for positions.
Okay, got it. We'll look at it, drop.
Based upon.
I was just gonna say with the fee schedule, we might wanna, I don't know, just do it for beginners, because it kind of seems like city councils where the beginners are having to go to the cheapest, and yeah, go up, the supervisor, sorry, but you guys do have more experience. No,
City council.
but you know what I mean,
Of
like,
course. Great ideas.
and they're running for, on tape.
Any, thank you. Any, yeah, Rich.
I just wanted to suggest, which I think you touched on, that doing the mailer in the primary was critically important because for some offices, that is the election.
Right.
And our endorsement will be almost meaningless if no one's aware of it.
Yeah.
And so if we can find a way to come up with that money, I think that's
I think
important.
it would be too.
Yeah, we've got the money.
Dominic.
One more thing about sort of the experience over 10 years. We have had, it's not been mandated, we've never taken a name off the mailer, even if they didn't pay, because you can't do that by the time you go to print. I think we've had 2 or 3 people over 10 years who've not ended up paying for this. So the non-participation rate has been minimal. Of course, if I'm running for office, I wish I didn't have to raise money for everything, but compared to the $100,000, the $500 on that mailer is actually is a pretty amazing bargain. And so I think the participation rate has been really, really high. I do think certainly, and we've always felt that it needs to be graduated, and it could be graduated more progressively towards lower versus higher. I think once you start to calculate every single vote, it gets very complicated. A small district versus a big district, that is tough. Now, one thing that is different this year in the fall, we used to print 2 mailers for the whole county, right? 28th versus 29th district, or whatever it was, whatever the numbers are now. That's not going to be feasible. We just will not have the room on these mailers, which means we have to rethink the whole thing. Every city needs its own mailer. We have to have some intelligence to put that together. And that changes the mailing universe a little bit. Anyway, I just think that there are ways to do that and to be fair. I think that the chances of people not participating is relatively low.
Okay. So, any other comments?
Just, while I agree, we certainly need a mailer, I would just say this. With so many candidates this year, I know for somebody like me, I'm just putting a lighter by the door because I can't burn that stuff fast enough. These mailers, a lot of people tend just to jump in really quickly because there's going to be an onslaught this year like we haven't seen. There's so many offices. So while yes, it is important, I think we definitely do need to make sure that we're not losing track of that which is on the horizon, things like hustle. But more importantly, we got to have people who can get those door knockers out. Because that can be much more targeted.
We will.
Than well, I would say door knockers, because that's where you're going. But
Yeah, you let the people.
right, but people take the door hangers out.
Yeah, no, I agree.
So we will take all of this into consideration.
Right, and
then bring back a revised budget next month.
Yes, and I'm wondering if someone has something to say about the budget that is not necessarily related to the mailers or door hangers. We really are looking at, if you look at it, we're looking at the election year 2016. We underestimated our income and overestimated our expenses last year and ended up quite well. And then what you see is a conservative estimate for 2018, looking to do the same or a little less than we did last year. So we're trying to still be conservative with our numbers.
Maria Louise?
Yes, I just wanted to say something. I've been a person who has walked many houses and have gone door to door. And the hanger with the Democratic pictures of the ones who we want represented by the Central Committee is very important. Some people don't really know all of the candidates, but when they see them all together, it makes it easier for them to vote because they think that it's the same party, they're thinking the same thing. So the hangers on the door are very important with the pictures on it. You know, the mailers, people come and they receive a lot of bills, a lot of mail, and they all mix all the mail together and it goes all in the dump, you know, because I know I receive a lot of these mailers and I don't even have a chance to see them. I just dump them sometimes. But when you go to the door, you put one hanger on the door and you see the faces of all these people, some people come up to me and say, oh, is that she running? Is she a Democrat? Oh, is she running? She's a Democrat? When they see those faces on the hangers, they bring them together. They think, oh, this is what I think. All these people are together, so I'm going to vote for all these people here. You know, and another thing I wanted to say, when anybody's running, if you're a candidate, you know that you got to get ahead of time, you got to go get the money you need for the city. When you put your papers in, you can't depend on us. You have to go out and work and get your money somehow with your friends, make a party, contribute, do something, do a dance or whatever you want to do. But you can't depend on the Democratic Central Committee doing all your work. You have to go out and work. You want to be a candidate, you get up on your feet and go and knock at the doors, because that's very important. And you got to get that money and ask the people if they can contribute to your candidacy. You know, and that's the way you're going to get people to vote for you. Anyway, I just want to say that. Thank you.
Okay, so I don't see any other hand. Oh, Anthony.
Okay, burning comments about the budget.
I had a question, so your stocks, would that be a year round, or would that be?
No, like 6 months, 8 months.
What I'm asking is because 9 months.
Well, we
It's
hadn't,
money.
we hadn't talked about that, but yeah, it depends partly on how much it would cost. But in my mind, originally, I was thinking like August through November.
Because I don't think many candidates for the primary and the
I was thinking for fall.
Thank you very much.
Tom?
So you have a little over $2,000 for the website. Is that simply for maintenance of a Monterey County Democratic Central Committee website? Or does that include support for those candidates? Content management?
That's my question too.
No, that's the web, I mean, honestly, unfortunately, our treasurer's not here, nor is our communication director, so I don't know the details of that, but.
We do use constant contact.
That's hosting costs and constant
$200.
contact are
Yeah.
the two things. So the mailing list and the hosting costs. But it is-
For many years, we had free donated web hosting, and now we have a modest fee.
Is the constant contact being used to
Yes.
drive messages to folks?
Yes.
It is, it's used for a couple of times a month. Any of the mailers, any of the emails you get, use constant contact for that.
Dominic and Elena?
Just to piggyback on the website, if maybe in the future, especially with the election cycle coming up, we can get better breakdowns of who our emails are hitting, what kind of responses we're getting, what kind of openings, things
So
of that
reports on
nature.
that.
Right, so that we know that it's effective.
Got it.
Elena,
Well,
last comment on
I was
this?
just curious if the cost of having a Salinas office is built into this budget, or if that's, would be an additional.
It is not built in. That reflects our current rent, and we have a 10.8 over. So conceivably, but again, these are estimates for the income. And then I dyed my hair purple and chopped off my detail.
Okay, on that note, Chris?
Oh, I just had a question. The income coming in from special events, what else does that include besides the annual dinner?
I'm sorry, which one?
Special events.
Special events.
Special events. Give me an amount.
37.
37. So that is all of the barbecue we had at Ron's house, the annual dinner.
The progressives, 32,000, and then for different events.
Yeah, I
So we're
don't,
planning to have another event, or two.
and clubs that gave us money for their events.
I volunteered to do a mailer, skip the events and ask for money.
Yeah. Send them a tea bag.
This doesn't have anything for travel and convention expenses. Last year for the state party convention, we did talk about maybe looking towards small scholarships, a couple $100 here and there, so we don't have just people going who have the funds. There's nothing in there for that. Is that cool with people, or do you want to see some money in that category?
Yes.
Dominic?
I would just say if there was a scholarship for people going to conventions, I think there should be certain requirements for things being done at conventions, like whether it be, attempting to author resolutions, to push on issues that are important to Monterey County, because it can be very easy to go to convention and just be overwhelmed. So I think we got to make sure that whoever is being funded, they have to have a goal to hit certainly.
Like a platform for Monterey County.
Certainly, they should represent us well if they're going to be sponsored.
Yeah.
But if you're a delegate, you know what you're supposed to be going to do. I hope. That's usually what our responsibilities are as a delegate. You should know before you get there, and not wait until you get there.
Thanks.
Okay, any other comments on the budget, Vince?
I'm just wondering whether we could ask the campaign committee to come up with a more detailed estimate for what the campaign costs. Now that we kind of have a better picture of how many races and how many, that both on the cost and income side could be, with the suggestion of having it be a fairer scale, and bring that back to the board.
That would be great.
So that then you can fill that in, because I do think there's more money both to be found, and there's also some savings potentially.
So that would be great if the campaign committee could do that before the next board.
We can talk about it under your meeting.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
The plan sort of determines the budget.
Yes. All right, so then let's move on to monthly speakers. So just
Discussion, open
just
discussion.
to announce, next month is the Marina Club, and I believe they're going to be having a speaker talking about water. So, and when the club has more details, they can let Karen, Elena, and I know, then we can include that in the information as we send it out, okay?
And your club, if your club is not already planning one of these, it is available. You can adopt a month, and you've got half an hour for the person to be a speaker or a group to have a speaker, and Q&A with folks. So that's an opportunity for you to get your club's voice heard at the Central Committee.
Okay, under information items, Chris.
Just a question I had. We have some speakers who are coming to speak at our elections who also indicated that they would like to speak in general to the Democratic Central Committee, but you don't necessarily have meetings the same dates. Are you prepared to sort of have special, if they want to come and do an extra?
You mean like have a special meeting for them?
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, my approach, because I get contacted by candidates all the time, I tell them, you know, contact one of the clubs, and I give them club contact information. And if you would like to come to our central committee, we have, you know, the half hour beforehand is social hour, and I can give you a couple minutes during public comment.
Like
But
with Dave.
like we did with Dave, and that's basically open to anybody. But as far as us, as far as me, I don't have the bandwidth to be trying to plan more events for elected officials.
We'll promote
I just
them,
can't do
we'll
it.
help promote them, we'll help get people there, yet it should be driven by one of the clubs.
Right.
We don't have a mechanism between meetings to drive those. There's a handful of events that we create, that we initiate, and we run.
Yeah, and if you let us know about it enough in advance, you know, we can push it out for if it, you know, constant contact.
So
or-
if we, like for instance, we traditionally do it on the third Thursday of the month. And so, you know, we've got some fairly high profile people coming that would like to. So they'll be here for lunch and,
Maybe another club would want them in the evening, I don't know.
And we can have an event here, it would just need to be shepherded, you know, like Democratic women would come to us and say, we want to have this at night. Great, we're going to do this, here's what it takes, we need some volunteers, we'll help promote it, I'll come open up the place, I'll, you know, and other people might as well. But we just can't be the driving force, like refer a name to us and then we plan everything. We'll help and we'll partner. Yeah.
Bob.
Speaking of speakers, what's the procedure for getting other candidates for state offices here? We've had a governor candidate and county governor. Now, are these people just people that the E-board has chosen, or?
No, they've contacted us.
Oh, you don't reach out to them?
Like John Chong was a Greenfield club, so they didn't contact the Central Committee. Dave Jones contacted the Central. Yes, sir.
Okay.
You don't reach out to any of the statewide candidates?
No. Not doing it. Okay, so, next thing is a survey, yes. So, please go to SurveyMonkey and offer your responses to questions about the DCC. This is feedback for us about how we're doing, how we can do better.
I'll send a link to all y'all after this meeting, just how do the meetings go, it's been a year now with this new way of doing the meetings. How's it working for you, what's not working, how are the events working, how they're not working, real simple.
Any questions about that?
It can be anonymous or you can give us your email.
Okay, and then calendar, Karen.
Great, so we're starting this real rough draft here just to get an idea. We talked about having an annual calendar so we know where things are happening. Please email me or handwrite on a piece of paper. I've got Post-its here. If you want your club's activity or some annual event that is DEM related on this, and it'll look a little better every month. Also, we're going to start just acknowledging and celebrating the people who are out there as Democrats. Now, I know that we're out there a lot. We're out there with our faith communities, with different identity groups, with our families. We're doing a lot in the community. But this is specifically, when are you flying your Dem flag? When are you out there representing the Democrats? And so in January, there may be more, but how many people attended here, how many people here attended the We the People party on January 1st, sponsored by Progressive Democrats? Tell me your first name.
It's legal.
Just call out your name. Alicia. Elena.
Hot, did you get it?
Alan. Who else was at the We the People? Gary, Alicia, Elena, Hutch, Karen. Thank you for supporting a fundraiser. Okay, the MLK Junior Parade. Who went there carrying the banner, flying their Dem colors? Call out your name. Alicia. Regina.
Maria.
Maria.
Jose.
Jose.
Anthony and Jose.
Gary.
Hutch.
Dominic, Yaneli was there too.
Yeah, Dominic, Janelle, and I carried the banner.
Thank you.
John, who did I miss? So for
Yeah,
MLK, Alicia, Mary Lou, Regina, Gary, Jonathan, Jose, Karen, Dominic, Hutch. Who else?
Yaneli.
Yaneli. Well, if we changed our meetings off Tuesday night, we could have great council members from South Valley and school board members like Nellie. Any members of this committee who are MLK? Anthony, of course. Good gravy. What about the Women's March?
Sharon, I was at MLK, but I was marching with SEIU. I don't know if that counts.
It does not. Thank you for all you do, and thank you for running for office.
It's cool. I'll be sure to tell our state council.
Adam, okay, so also at the Women's March, who was staffing that table and carrying that banner in the march with the
That's
Dems?
Elena.
Jan.
I did it table.
Elena, Jen is not here, yes?
Yeah, Elena, Jen, and I carried the banner.
Doesn't matter if you're, what's
I'm sorry,
Gentlemen,
Yeah.
Watsonville counts.
Regina.
Right, still representing.
Elizabeth?
Natalie was at the table. Anthony.
Mary Lou was saying, and Watsonville, I was a speaker there.
Yay. Who did I miss?
Was I there?
Women's March as a Democrat.
As surveys.
Regina, Elena, Elizabeth, Jen, Gary, Jonathan, Jose, Mary Lou.
Hutch.
Hutch.
Ian was at the Women's March and MLK.
Ian at both. Yay, Ian. Vince.
I don't only have.
Karen, what about the Planned Parenthood? I was there.
So these are particularly the people that were there because you're Democrats and you were there saying, I'm representing this organization.
You like John for my photography?
Yeah.
So the
Bob,
Planned
yeah.
You better slide me in on those.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, and then the last,
Planned Parenthood. Yeah, we're at the table there.
okay, well, that's not an individual. There you go, Planned Parenthood. Who was at Planned Parenthood's table? Your names are already up here.
Double credit.
So how many people attended a meeting of a Democratic club this month? There you go. Thank you very much. And we're gonna do that every month, or you can just come in and write your name on there. But really, thank you for all you do at all the tables, but when you're there, declare that you're a Democrat and wear your colors.
Oh, and we registered 9 voters.
Very well, yay.
All right, so thank you all for all you do. I know you're doing a lot for this party. Okay, Democratic clubs, this is an opportunity to let us know what's going on, and Democratic women.
Okay, we just last week had our first of this year's series, and is entitled Our Time Has Come. And Elaine Easton, running for governor, spoke, and Malia Cohen, who's running for the board of equalization, and Regina Gage, who's running for District 2. So it was well attended, had over 80 people, and a lot of energy. And discovered there are several other women that are also planning to declare for city councils within the next couple of years around the county. And in next month, Nancy O'Malley is the district attorney for Oakland, will be speaking on human trafficking and women and children in Northern California. And I urge you to come and hear her talk. She's terrific. She used to be Jimmy Panetta's boss in Oakland, and very active on these issues. And in March, Tony Thurman is coming, who's running for the state superintendent of public schools, with Deneen Gus, who is also running, as you know, locally for superintendent of schools. And the month after that, Betty Mead will be here, and she's running again for controller, and Anna Caballero will be joining her. So right now, that's the roster, and those are some of the people that we thought we could, parlay into having them talk while they're here that week, since they're making the effort.
Yeah,
Okay.
we can help with that.
Okay.
The space is available and.
Okay.
Oh, and last thing is, our membership is growing. well over 200 women now, and more, as I understand, had added during the march, so.
Okay, is there an update from the Marina Club?
Tom, shoot, I'm not here on the
Okay,
work.
well, you mentioned the water meeting coming up. Details at 11 when we get that locked down completely. We're also talking about the possibility of trying to put a panel discussion together on the topic of what you might call Black Lives Matter, rules for the use of force, equipping and compensating police officers. But we need to try and get the right sort of speakers from the law enforcement community and perhaps from also the Black Lives Matter community or some similar community. So anyone can think of some folks who could give some thoughtful debate to those issues, because I don't believe we as an electorate who pay for police and tolerate what the rules for the use of force are, et cetera, I think we're having a decent discussion about where we ought to be in that regard. When did you meet again? We don't have a date for this yet because it will depend on speakers. We're still trying to see if we can find it.
Well, that's a great topic, and if you're able to.
Yeah, if anybody can think of some.
So make sure to connect and share information after the event.
Yeah, so if anybody has any ideas on sort of police enforcement representatives, Black Lives Matter representatives, would be open to kind of a debate about police use of force, check with Tom. Salinas Valley, do we have a report from Salinas Valley?
We had a Christmas party last month, and it was, we put it in the internet, and I didn't see much of you guys there, but we had a lot of people there, and music, and it was a wonderful getting together for us. And we had a text circle concerning who we're going to endorse just this week, so we're looking forward to our next meeting.
Good. Monterey Peninsula?
We're proud to report that we don't have a report other than we had a Christmas party.
Okay. And Progressives, we also had a holiday party. We did meet in January, and one of the main things we discussed was sort of priorities for the coming year and different races that we would like to get involved in. Gary or Karen, anything else? Monterey Cannabis.
Yeah, we've been doing pretty good with our actual campaign workshops. So every Friday for about the past month, we've been meeting over at the Breakfast Club down the street at 9 a.m. And then we come over here at 10 a.m. and then we work till 2 p.m. on whoever's campaign it is. And right now we're working on John Wizard's. So that's how we were actually able to lock down the press club. This is also Chrissy Burwell back here. She's actually our development officer for the candidates. So she handles membership and basically the event structures. And we're actually now going to start doing something else on Fridays. So we're just going to meet up about 30 minutes before the sunset on the beach somewhere in this area. And then we just go for a walk and talk. So that's been pretty good.
Good.
So great, thank you. And if we can have your media person or whoever does communications, get us the information, like a blurb to go on the website, and any link and everything.
Yeah, it's on the Facebook page. It's a really simple flyer.
Whatever you want. And Jim still is not.
All right, let's stay focused here. We've still just got some reports, and we'll be out of here, folks. So under report 10A, we did have a retreat. It was well attended. I really want to thank the organizers. I found it really useful. I did hear from some folks who couldn't make it because of commitments to attend other religious events. And just want to let you know there will be other events, and we will take that into consideration with the scheduling in the future. But I don't know if Elena, Tyler, or Wes have anything they would like to share, but this would be the opportunity as far as the event that we have. Elena?
I'd rather not speak about the event since I had a hand in planning it. I'd like to hear from the folks who, for whom that was maybe a new experience or maybe not. But what I would like to ask, and I probably should have done it during the budget, but I would like for us to give some sort of a donation to the organization at CSU, and maybe the National Coalition Building Group, they send their young leaders to different events, and so I just, just a token, it doesn't have to be, maybe $100.
So we didn't
like
pay
that.
them?
No, we did not pay them.
Yeah,
They volunteered to do it. They didn't ask for payment. They're all professionals. They all do it for money, also. Well, they're fine with, maybe if we asked them to do it again, that would probably be a good thing. But anyway, I just put that out there. But I would love to hear other people's, I thought it was great.
People who attended?
I found it very valuable. We talked a lot about, I guess, preconceptions and kind of like where we fit in the world and figure out what other people were doing. And it was a lot of insight into how people were feeling. I got to know Adam, so that was nice. But yeah, it was just really interesting to see all the things that make people. I know I'm being really general, but it was kind of a general meeting. I was going to be there, but it was very cool to see how people interacted and what they reacted to and things that they're going through and things that you don't think would affect them, it does. So it was enlightening, and I think it'd be very valuable for people to attend. These are giving my really general, horrible.
I did not attend, I was one of the people that sent a message saying that Sundays, a lot of people do go to church and believe in God, and go praise God is not a religion. But anyway, I'm very concerned, it have been for a very long time, because those of us who do worship God, it seems like we're an outcast in not only the party but the county for the most part. So, I would just like to see a little more concern. I would like to see a report that came out of that meeting or something in writing, and something that is going to be used to improve the relationships between the different ethnic groups around here, especially on this community.
I'm certainly sympathetic to your concern about the timing. We were working with volunteers and we worked around their schedule. Karen, did you want to say?
So I wanted to point out, Elena did not mention it, that there is a report in here on page 10, and it includes next steps. And as someone who attended, what was wonderful, I loved how quickly the professionals who were facilitating it created a space where I was able to be very vulnerable very quickly. And the depth of frankness and connection in the room was wonderful. Some very difficult things were stated, and I walked out that room caring more deeply for people I already liked. And one person with whom I had conflict, it was like resolved and healed. So it just was a wonderful experience. So if we do it again, I hope we can find a time that works with everyone's schedule. And it was just really wonderful. It was a really great bonding, learning, making amends, and conflict resolution experience.
Can I just read the next steps or something
Actually, I
else?
think
I'm sorry.
Tyler, and then Holly.
So I was just going to share that I think one of the things that I heard when the event was being planned and discussion around if it was going to be required or ultimately ended up becoming optional, I heard an argument that I've been to these things before, and I hear this a lot just in general. And so what I would say is that I am from the Black community, and I still attended, and this was in particular about race. It focused on many differences, but in particular about race. And so I think that I took it and I saw it as an opportunity for me to further my understanding. I mean, I think life is a continual learning process, and I learned a lot about the folks that were there and the differences that we have. And I think one of the biggest takeaways that I had is I'm an extremely empathetic person, and so I kind of came to the conclusion that you have to be empathetic to try to understand somebody else's perspective in order to move the issue forward, which isn't necessarily the case because not everybody doesn't have that much empathy, and they may not get to that point of understanding, and that's not the objective. The objective is just to hear where the other person's coming from and accept it. So just let it be what it is. And so that was kind of the biggest takeaway that I had from the retreat. And I encourage folks to participate when we have these things in the future.
So to echo what Tyler said, you know, it's an ongoing conversation. It's not one and done. So that I hope is one of a series of trainings that we might have throughout the year. And then one of the great suggestions you came up with, Karen, which is on the list, is it's really all about relationship building. And I think you had mentioned at the retreat, we need to do an activity, some type of a simple question that we round robin, and it doesn't have to be a serious question about politics. It can be just be something fun and light, so we build that relationship and fun and trust amongst one another. That was it, but I'm not going to steal your thunder now.
I don't need to read it, but I just wish everybody would. And just to key in on one of the most important ones, one was the idea of having another retreat, meeting, whatever you want to call it, workshop. I always refer to it as a workshop, and preferably in Salinas, and definitely not on a Sunday, so that the folks who couldn't come because of location or because of day of the week, time of day. But we all know that nothing ever works for everybody. So it was. I really appreciate everybody who did come. Everybody really took it seriously, but we also had fun.
You know, one of the biggest problems that I've seen that happens in this county is who is considered important and who is considered unimportant. Some people can work their butts off for years doing all kinds of things and volunteering and everything. You don't get anything, you get pushed aside, and then the other people are more important, or they're your friends, or whatever the case may be, or their positions are more considered. What we need to do to get past that is realize that we're all human beings and part of the human race, and we're here not to just serve ourselves, we're here to serve people. That's the only reason why I see that this committee exists. Otherwise, why are we here? We're not here just to pass time. We're here because supposedly we care about ourselves, we care about the people in our communities, no matter who they are, whether they have a dime or whether they have $1 million. I'd like to see some of these millionaires in this room.
Very well said, Ron. Thank you. All right, any other comments on the retreat?
I thought it was very valuable. I mean, you can always learn more about yourself. There's always change that has to happen internally. And sometimes you don't hear it unless there's a venue for people to tell you, makes you a better person. But also to be aware of things you're not aware of, right? That's a lot of it is. And not just personal, biases, but, sort of structural things that are sort of, maybe we're part of the structure here, I mean, and are we portraying racism or sexism or class biases without even knowing? No. This was an opportunity to talk about that, and I thought I feel much closer to people.
Okay, so we're going to move on then. 10C, Karen, MOE training.
10B.
Oh, it looks like CM. Oh, 10D, B, sorry about that. Small print. Yeah.
Sorry, it is really small.
Yeah, so Mary Lou and Ryan, Patty, and Wes, we had asked you all to look at possible sites, and this is an opportunity to kind of update us on what they're thinking. For Salinas.
I don't know if West or see the names. Patty, Monterey Place. I did look everywhere in Salinas. I even looked into offices that for rent, and a lot of people don't want to rent for 2 or 3 days or a couple of hours. They want a whole week, but I did go through a lot of buildings, that were empty, and they've been empty for a long time. And I don't know why the people don't want to just let us have it, and get some money out of it, because those buildings have been empty for some time, and they're small offices. But then I went back to the Simstra local union because I just came in and I just wanted to know by the chair and vice chair. We've been having meetings there, and is that free? Or are you guys being paid for it?
This is the Teamsters Hall, so we go in at 931 East Market next to the Central Committee, the Central Labor Council, but we meet in that hall, right? So when we came on board and went to reserve that space, the landlord was surprised that the Democrats had been meeting there. And we had to do some relationship building based on a misunderstanding beforehand. So we were meeting there free, but with their permission in last year. And the agreement is this year we're supposed to start paying $20 per meeting. And they want us to ramp up over the years to their fee, which I think is about $20 an hour.
No,
But anyway, that's just for our monthly meeting, so that's at the Teamsters Hall.
Okay, maybe that's for the meeting, you know. First of all, I did get an application there, and I did talk to a Mr. Kent Garcia Rainborn. Do you know him?
Yeah, he has authority.
Okay, he's the one who gave me the application, and he explained to me, and he okayed to give me an application for it, you know. Except he told me that, of course, you're welcome to the building if you pay $50 a day. You know, it depends how many hours you want to use it. And it was free before, or $20 per half, but now it's 50. They used the building on Tuesday and Thursday for a Zumba class, which they now rent to them. And that Zumba class starts at 7 o'clock, so our meeting's not going to be able to be there no longer because the Zumba has it now. So he told me I could choose some other day. And they also have a general membership meeting on the second Thursday of every month, and that begins at 8 o'clock. So my question is, we have to move our meeting. We can move our meeting to another day. We can choose Monday, Wednesday, or Fridays.
We've secured the meeting space. So the meeting space is fine. We just need to deal with the Center for Change.
Because Zumba class starts at 7 o'clock.
We've taken care of it.
Okay, because it's at 1 Tuesday, okay. So my question is, if you're willing to pay $50 a day, you know, and how many hours a day, we can choose any day. He said either Monday, Fridays, Saturday. So it's up to us because we're going to be paying for it.
Would that be that would be the big hall that we need in?
It's a big, he said it was we could use the hall that we've been using. He said there was also a room there where we can put a computer or printer or whatever we had.
Right.
You probably know about it.
So at the back of the Teamsters Hall, so you know where we usually put the snacks and the table? So if you go off to one side is the restroom, but if you go off to the other side, there are two doors that we don't go through. The other side of those doors, there's a big conference room. And so what you sent to me, Mary Lou, says the president said regarding your request, you could rent the conference room and use of the hall. We'll rent out the conference room from the time you requested, which Mary Lou had said Thursday through Saturday, 3 to 7 p.m. for $500 a month. You can store your stuff in that conference room and use the hall during any of that time, as long as there's nothing going on, which is really great. We just require that you let us know when you're using the hall to avoid conflicts. And another layer to that is, we used to be at the Central Labor Council right next door, so it's kind of geographically still familiar to people. That is, you know, I don't know if that's a lot of money to you, but 500 is 500. It was 200 when we were at the Central Labor Council. But also we have a big storage unit. They purchased a big shipping crate, so we've got half of that, and so, you know, that would be easy for us as well. So that's all I want to say about that. We don't have to make a decision right now.
So what do you think as far as, do you feel like that would be a good location as
I think
far
that would
as?
be a good location because you have a lot of Latinos there. And, you know, it's an area of minorities where we can get more people to register to vote, you know. And it's a good place because it has a lot of parking. As long as they don't have a meeting and they talk about the parking, they don't want you to use the parking while they're having a meeting also. And also, if you want to have an event, you know, it could be on a Sunday or a Saturday. You pay for the event, $500, you know. You can do a barbecue there, maybe rent some chairs, charge people for coming in and eating barbecue or whatever, you know. We can even give them money there for barbecue, you know, as long as we have volunteers that want to set up a barbecue pay you $20, $50, whatever, for the Democratic Club, and we can have an event there on the parking area.
Well, if in the view of the committee it works, $500 a month to me seems like a good investment.
And Patty has something.
Patty?
I think it's a good idea because, right there is where I registered to become a US citizen. So, I don't know if it was like back in '94 or something, we had, before they started, I guess, charging $125 for the application for citizenship. There was a bunch of lines of people coming like to help do the paperwork for the citizenship. So that's where I registered to become, fill out my forms for US citizenship.
Well, thank you. Tyler, did you want to say something?
Yeah, I just wonder if we'd be able to post a sign or something outside of the building so that way it's a little bit more identifiable. I'm not sure if that was part of the conversation.
We have to probably have that conversation.
Well, I can talk to him, and I'm sure, we can have some signs, certain days, maybe, certain days, I'll talk to him, and I just wanted you to work on days, but you said we still can meet on Tuesdays, so we can work around the days on the coming elections,
That's a great find. Thank you
Yeah,
for
thank
making
you.
that connection.
Thank you so
And
much.
Wes has
So,
Russ, or-
could you let me know as soon, or are you gonna put the
Yeah.
application?
Well, I think I want to hear back from our campaign committee
Okay.
too about like when do they think we should start that?
Okay, how many hours and all that?
And-
I think I just brought this information to you. I know that you're in charge of it because he wants you
Yeah.
to fill the application.
We will.
Talk to
We
him.
will.
Okay?
Yeah, we will.
And you know what? And I'm willing to make sure we can have an event there and do a barbecue and have some music and you guys can chip in some money for your plates.
do that.
They got a big
Thank
space.
you so
there.
much.
Okay.
Appreciate that. Good job, committee.
Okay.
Wes, did you want to add something?
Yeah, so there's a couple of spaces for timeshare type situation, $300 or so, depending on how many hours a week or whatever. But and then I was also looking at just office space and $750 a month for 700 square feet. That was a couple months ago. I think those are gone. But that seemed to be the low end, and having it 24 hours a day seems preferable than like a 3 to 7. You got to chisel it out. It seems kind of. I'd rather go for the whole office space.
So I'm wondering if the committee would be willing to just kind of, not a big fat report, but I mean, just like, just a couple, I mean, if you have other ideas, because I think we have a grip on what the option at 890 is, but I hear you say parking, availability 24 hours a day, I mean, that's kind of stuff for us to think about. But we would need other tangible options with those qualities, and we'll look at it. Third Wednesday, we'll have a meeting, we'll talk about it. So if you guys have more ideas. Do you have anything, Ryan? Can we move in with you?
No. I mean, if you want to have campaign meetings at my office, you can do that, that's fine, but the boardroom can only take about maybe 14 people at most.
Got it.
So if you want to actually run like for example, I got to tour literally 9 campaign offices down in LA at the beginning of the month. And a lot of them are pretty empty around this time of year, but then they really start to cycle up, and they talked about campaign security. Basically, if you're sharing an office and you have stuff everywhere, somebody comes in and sees it. And the other reason, the way they actually strategically place all of their offices, they try to go for street corners on high traffic, high foot traffic, and they do that so they can basically promote the brand, because if you're going to spend money on marketing, it's really easy if you actually have an amazing office. Like I hate the Republican office in Monterey. It's like right there when you come in. It's like horrible parking, there's never going to be there, but it's there for a reason.
Got it.
So things to consider. And as far as the $500 a month one, the scalability as we go in there, if that starts to catch on and it makes sense after 3 to 6 months, upgrade to something bigger. And then campaign offices, the way they're really supposed to be designed is to continue to make money throughout the entire year. So you never really stop campaigning. So that's kind of the component of keeping something going 24/7. So.
Okay. Good. Thank you.
Okay, good discussion. Let's go to subcommittee reports. Our finance chair is not here, so let's skip that. Credentials, Karen, do you have a report?
Just that there's one seat that is opened up again. The person actually is in the room. I don't know if he wants to make the announcement himself. But you can look at the sheet and you can see the districts that have vacant seats and encourage people to apply online. You'll see an interest form. And just like we did with Anthony last meeting, we're gonna fill those seats if people don't name their alternates.
Alan, did we skip 10C?
Oh, yeah, we did. It's really hard for me to read this.
Yeah, it's super
Go ahead.
small.
10C.
So Adam will talk more about the actual training, but Mo, this is 10C, and you'll see on page 11 in your packet, Mo is the Democratic Party's voter database, mobilize, organize, and elect. And so you'll see on that page a kind of our current policy for using that. Some people in this room have access to that. And then there's a draft policy that Gary, thank you very much, did some research that other Democratic Central Committees use. So what is it? It's something that the state party pays for, and we're like a sub-user of this voter database, which is has a lot of capabilities, and Adam will tell you more about it. But the thing is that our challenge is making sure it's being monitored and audited correctly, because once a lot of people get access to it, you can't sell that information. We can lose our license if we're part of someone who's managing a campaign, who's getting paid and is using that for a candidate. You know, it's just got to be for our endorsed candidates, and so we want to tighten that up to honor our agreement with the state, and we want to be useful to all candidates. Something that came up that's a big question mark is people are used to being able to look at that and say they were an endorsed Democrat in the last election and they are the incumbent, but they're going to run again. Should we automatically let them have access, and when do we cut that off? When we're starting the endorsement process? I mean, how do we handle that? So these are things that the campaign committee and the e-board will talk about, but that's what it is. That's what we're wrestling with. You don't have to accept or reject this tonight. It's a discussion taking place.
So just a real quick, report on the trainings. This Sunday, I trained maybe like 5 people in this office on some basics on how to use Mo, how to envision how you target the voters that you'd like to go after, and how you cut a list. If you've ever walked door to door phone bank, those lists were likely cut in Mo or PDI. So you're familiar with the end product, but a lot of work goes into creating that, and then inputting the data that we collect to help us get people up to the polls. And so I'm happy to do more trainings, certainly for people who are club representatives, members of the Central Committee. I guess when we endorse candidates and decide whether or not we're providing access to candidates, if they need a training on, I'm able to provide that. I'm like a yellow belt with Mo, not a black belt, but I'm gonna go out and get some more training from SEIU so that we can make sure that candidates' data is protected, because in the past, other people have kind of in a really shitty way accessed their opponent's data when access was given to both of them and put in a bunch of dummy data. So we need to be able to protect that from happening. It's like what happened with Bernie and Hillary and
How many people had access to the actual,
pardon me?
how many people had admin level access?
Right now, I don't know.
15 maybe? I've limited some of the access, but what I still am looking for a direct answer from the state party is, show me how to audit this. And I'm learning some stuff, because if you have rules, it's fine if everybody has a good intention, but what we're doing is we want to track, we're going to track the activity, random, not constantly, but in order to protect our agreement. Because right now we're saying, well, we told people this is the agreement if they didn't do it, but the state party is getting pressure too. So we want to just tighten that ship up to avoid misunderstandings.
Vince, just want to emphasize, unless somebody tells me otherwise, this is not something that's ever happened locally. Never has.
Yes.
Yeah.
We've not had breaches.
Oh.
Our Mo license.
Fernando Armenta's campaign in 2012 had a breach.
Our campaign?
I think he was using, he was using the Democratic Party more.
And someone went in and took the data, the affirmative data on the candidate and
Yeah, so like, so I was working on this campaign, and we, that was what we were informed. All of a sudden, we had to stop all operations, and I was informed that Fernando's campaign was using the Democratic Party's MO license, or maybe back then it was when we were working with MAN instead of PEI.
But again, that's not to say it was even one of us, because how many of us have logged on to a page and you're sitting there adding in your code, right? All it takes is someone sitting next to you. It's not to say it was anyone around this table or who's ever sat around this table. But things like that have happened, and the state party has had a few things. And so we just want, in light of that, we just want to tighten it up.
Natalia, did you have some?
Yes, just briefly that, when you have access to all this information, it is similar to when you're working in a hospital and you have access to patient information, or if you're working in a school setting, you have to protect people's privacy. And I just wanted to say that I really appreciate the strong language that I noticed, where it says on page 11, violation of this agreement, and any violation of this is subject to possible termination and restriction of access to such data and possible criminal and/or civil prosecution. I really like how that was in here, because this is serious. When I saw the information that was there on me, that's a lot of information. And to be entrusted with that, and to find out that in other areas, that information may have been sold for profit reasons, no bueno, no bueno. So, thank you.
Gary?
Well, the data policy should also include our people that, some of this is public access, because it's all reportable at PBC, but people that have given us money. But not all information shows up at the election department. But it's very valuable for any group, no matter, not just ourselves, but the people that have given us money, like any group. I mean, you work hard to build that, and you build trust with people, people that donate money, and it belongs to the committee, and it doesn't belong to any one particular person to be used for other purposes, and that needs to be in a data policy.
Okay, I'm going to move us along. We have about 13 minutes left to 8:30, so I'd like to see if we can get through our reports quickly and move the meeting. Issues, do we have any update there?
Not really, I've been active on issues this past period.
No issues, we have no
Okay.
issues.
But there has been there are issues that are outstanding. One is the campaign finance reform for the county. The other one, I heard a suggestion earlier from Gary that we think about questions for candidates for the investment process.
Okay.
So if the committee has proposed questions, I would happily receive them, either if you have my email or through the executive board.
Anything else to say? All right.
Written report from David.
We have a written report in here from our development chair. Communications, I'm sad to report that Erin, for personal reasons, is stepping down.
She's fine, she just needs to sit.
So that's going to be a very important role that we need to fill. And if you have some ideas, please let me know, somebody who has those kinds of skills.
So it's basically newsletter, social media, website design, that's it?
Email blasts.
Email blasts, consultation on press releases and distribution of press releases.
Somebody does it professionally. Can I nominate myself?
Woo!
Second it.
You're all in favor.
So you want to do that?
Yeah.
Okay, let's talk.
Actually, it should be
Yes.
communication director, not communications director.
So what it is so Erin had a special seat because the previous board deemed, that was really astute of them, that there was an unmet need and we needed that. She had a special seat that was created for her. So you already have a seat here. We'll have to talk about whether you would want someone else to come in as candidates and you should be the communications person. For now, you would just be the lead communications subcommittee person, and we'll talk about future
Great,
structure.
and also, you know what, honestly, just merge info technology right into there. It's not like you're maintaining servers, it's just websites. So you're
Thank
just
you.
splitting it anyway.
So you already expressed interest in that, so that's great. We also need to look at the bylaws, and one day Paula and I are
With
gonna
dump
sit
and
down and
constant
look at the
contact too,
bylaws.
that is way too expensive. We're gonna go to MailChimp.
Thank
Way
you.
slicker. I already know what theme you guys are using.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Alright, so I'm just saying.
But we'll touch on that. Brian, you also have a committee that you have to work with.
We'll talk, okay? All right, do you have anything on infotech? Campaign, Elena?
Well, we tried to meet and we were unable to, so I'm hoping that the folks that are here that are on the committee, and so just to remind you that you are on, and if you don't want to be on anymore, let me know, and I'll quit sending you emails, but I'd like to schedule a meeting. We're proposing the 30th, but just let me know before you leave the meeting, and if that doesn't work, then we'll come up with something else. And our goal for this next meeting, and then we'll bring it to the board, will be to really get a little finer tooth on the details of the needs for the upcoming election.
Okay, and can you also, I put a note here, cost and income on the mailer. Are you willing to talk with finance and just get down what the cost is, and then maybe suggest
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
some
We
giving
come up with
amounts?
costs. Okay, yeah, and on both ends, expense and income.
Are you gonna make recommendation on priority basis?
I don't know that we're ready to do that.
Okay.
I think it's early to do that. I mean, obviously, priorities would be to endorse candidates, and all the, but, yeah, that'll be a topic. Thank you. So just in case you're here, Maria, Amit, Ryan, Gary, Vince, Natalia, Dominic, Tyler, and Wes, and absent are Holly and David, I believe.
So I'm going to suggest you all huddle up after the meeting and see if you can identify a time, okay?
And Anthony, I invited you, but I wasn't sure if you wanted to.
Yeah, I responded.
Yeah, okay, and Anthony, I'm sorry, I forgot your name.
Okay,
Thank you.
and E-Board, the state hasn't met, so I assume you don't have anything new, or do you?
No, it's coming up on the 23rd to the 25th in San Diego. Always a wonderful, exciting event. This time I imagine the focus will be mainly on elections and flipping seats and so forth. What I would like to push, promote at this point, I keep hearing from people that, the Democrats are just, we're running as not them. As if we had nothing to, nothing to offer. And I think we're really going to have to work a lot harder on getting across that, yes, indeed, we have a lot more to offer. And it's not just what we stand for, it's what we're going to do. So that's the main thing I hope to get out of this meeting. Getting into it is another issue. I've been a little bit late in trying to make arrangements because I'm just back from Cuba. And so, if there's anybody who could use a roommate at this event, that would be nice.
No, February 23rd, I think
At the convention, yeah.
So if you're a delegate to the state party, make sure that you do get registered. Registration is open. Make your travel plans. Hotels are going to be very, very hard to find. Look for a roommate, and obviously Jan has indicated she's looking for a roommate. Others may. And if you are a primary, please identify an alternate so that we will be fully represented. So, if there's any chance, and things happen, people get sick, something comes up, you can't go, you want to know that somebody's going to be able to go in your place so this committee is represented. And anyone on the central committee or any alternate to the central committee could be an alternate for you to the state party. Something you want to say?
I was going to volunteer as a possible proxy.
Okay.
I went
Yeah.
Primary and fall,
Yes, she was.
so then there would be an opening there.
Possibly. I'm not sure. And one of the things I have to find out is was she resigning? I'm not sure. Was she resigning from the committee altogether?
No,
Was
just
she
for
just
your
resigning from the
communication.
role?
Oh,
So I need to find out what that, how that affects.
So she wouldn't be
Well,
on.
what do I need for?
At least you know what to do.
Okay, Dominic?
Yeah, so just coming out, if you guys haven't checked it out.
All right, I'm sorry, folks. Come on, let's keep the side conversations down. We got 14 minutes to go before we're all out of here. Dominic?
And I'm willing to throw stuff, so. The draft proposal for the Democratic State Party, it's up. So if you want to check it out, go to caldem.org. The one thing I would note is if you have any suggestions to changing the language, the deadline's already tomorrow by 5 p.m. The paragraph I submitted got knocked down to one sentence, so I guess it's a start. But there are changes in the platform, so if you're interested in various issues, you might want to check it out before 5 p.m. tomorrow, because that's your last chance before convention to get in something. So,
Tyler, did you have anything you wanted to?
I just wanted to mention I registered for San Diego already, but it's gonna go up higher if you don't register before February the 2nd. You know, I just wanna let you guys know, you wanna pay more.
February 2nd?
You only have until February the 2nd to register.
Without a higher fee.
Without a higher fee.
Early bird.
Okay. Let's see, future agenda items. Is there anybody who wants something on a future agenda? All right. Seeing
Dominic's got a hand. Dominic has
Dominic?
just because we're going into election season, kind of similar to what happened at the convention, kind of establish what we feel is a Monterey Democrat. And I say this only because of this reason. Democrats win a lot in Monterey County. I mean, it's just the way the numbers are skewed. And so you get this weird phenomenon where people try to tiptoe over the line, from Republican to independent, and later on. Now, I, for one, don't mind kicking ass on a few Republicans who feel like they can waltz in. So I feel like we do need to define what it is we represent as a party. While anybody is certainly welcome to come off the street and change their party, once you're a candidate and elected, there should be a higher threshold for what it means to be a Democrat. And so I think we do need to address this before campaign season.
Okay, good. We do have a mission and a strategic statement of what it means to be a Democrat. Maybe we want to talk about having people swear to affirm that.
Right.
Maybe we need to deepen that. I don't know.
And we have a party platform to which we expect them to adhere.
Okay, before I think I heard Chris and Alicia. I don't know if either of you have something you wanted to add for future meetings.
When you want to have an alternate go for you, do you register first as the primary and then designate them, or can they just register straight?
They should have the name because we provided them. We provided, by virtue of whatever entity you are a delegate should have provided your information
I
already.
went as a proxy last year, so I had to get a form signed from the primary.
And that's what I thought.
That turns for registration.
And so you want to get that proxy form filled out early. If you've got a friend who might be able to go, and I'm not sure how, I assume you can get that at the state website.
It has to be a member as well.
It has to be a member or an alternate. I believe it could be an alternate or a primary to the central committee. If you are a central committee delegate. Alicia?
I just have a tiny announcement that I should have made comments, but I didn't know that.
I think it's Alicia first, then Emily.
Hi, I would like to say, me personally, I think each district should be represented as a delegate. And last year, no one from District 4 was represented. So I think each district should have a chance to have a delegate to go to the convention. So how many seats are there?
14.
14. So actually each district could have 2 because it's 6 districts. could have 2 delegates in Jan's spot and I guess another spot that's open, so.
Oh, this is just at the very end. This is just there's an act called the Traveling Exotic Animal and Public Safety Protection Act, TEPSPA. It's HR 1759. They're going to be voting on it soon. It's to offer protections for elephants and throughout all kinds of animals that travel. Right now, they can pretty much do whatever they want. It's a pretty cool industry. So I would really appreciate it if you could take a moment and call tomorrow. You call Jimmy Granetta. Any other congressman you know, they're going to be voting on it, and it would be really great if it passed.
And what is it called?
It's called TEPSPA, TEAPSPA.
Is it a state bill?
It's a United States bill,
Oh, right,
federal
good,
bill, sorry.
okay.
Traveling Exotic Animal and Public Safety Protection Act, HR 1759.
Are the Republicans gonna try to?
It's
put
an
some
actually
defund
bipartisan.
Okay.
It's bipartisan.
All right, folks, so this.
Thank you.
We're gonna wrap it up.
This,
Well,
yeah,
I
this,
got my hand up.
okay, go ahead.
We always talk about trying to bring in more African Americans or trying to address their concerns. And so I'm just really curious as to how we can reach more African Americans, because we have seen them making promises that are not being kept. And we don't have that many of our people here anymore, but the ones that are here are really disappointed to find out after the elections that nothing is really happening. And we have to change that view.
Thank you.
But so how we put that on the agenda for next week.
So you would like to discuss how we can better serve the needs of the local African Americans?
Yes.
All right, you can do that? All right, this meeting is adjourned. Our next meeting is next month in Salinas.